Did
He's a bit of an app.
he? I like Wade.
Oh, yeah. For cool.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm calling to order the 7/16/2013 recess Miami Special Utility Authority meeting. The recess was for today, 7/17/2013 at 6 o'clock, Jill. Filed in the office of the city clerk and posted in the main lobby in the north outside entryway of the Miami Civic Center at 5 p.m. on July the 12th, 2013. The trust may discuss, consider, and vote on any item listed in this agenda. We are called to order. Item 2 is our prayer invocation, and Doug will be doing it. And if you remain standing, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pray with me. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. Thank you for this city, Lord, and the men and women that perform their duties to make it work. I pray for this council, Lord, and you just pray that you'd grant us the wisdom to do and vote the right way, Lord, and the things that come our way. Lord, I just pray that you would help us just to make the right decisions. God, I thank you so much that we're given these opportunities to be in a country that is free, Lord, and I pray for the ones that are serving our country and defending it. And I just pray, Lord, that you'll bless them in a special way. For it's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Doug. Item 4, public input and unscheduled personal appearances. Are there any this evening? Item 5, consent agenda. The following items are on the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are deemed to be non-controversial and routine in nature by the governing board. They will be approved by one motion of the Miami Special Utility Authority. The items on the consent agenda will not be discussed. Any member of the governing board desiring to discuss an item on the consent agenda may request that it be removed from the consent agenda and placed in its proper order on the regular agenda. Any member of the governing board can also move to add items from the regular agenda to the consent agenda and make one motion and vote to approve. Gentlemen, tonight you have items A, B, C, and D for your consideration.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda, Mayor.
I'll second.
Trustee Johnson?
Aye.
Trustee Weston?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Sharbit?
Aye.
Chairman Ketcher?
Aye. All ayes. A, B, C, and D have been approved, gentlemen. Item 6, presentation of proposed new Peoria Ridge sanitary sewer and pipe station service to the clubhouse project. Tonight we have John Bolt, Small Aero Engineering, with us. Is he here?
Right here.
Okay, you want to step up, sir? Chief, if you want to go along with him, you can, or you can just sit there until your turn.
I'll stand up there, but he knows everything.
Yeah, I'm John Bolte with Small Aero Engineering. We're out of Joplin. We were hired by the tribe to help them get their sewer system set up for the new clubhouse. Kind of had an evolution of events. We started out with just looking to do an on-site treatment system for them with just probably like a sand filter and then discharge into the irrigation lake there on the course. And we got to talking to ODEQ, and they said, well, we've changed those rules since you guys did a project like that in the past. So they imposed some new rules and regs on us at Oklahoma City, and so we realized some of the design options we'd used for systems in the past were no longer available. So then we started looking at a mechanical plant, traditional treatment plant system, realizing that was pretty, really not very cost effective for these guys to have to deal with that from a maintenance standpoint. So the next step was we got in touch with Chuck and started talking about the possibilities of bringing it to town. And so as we looked into that, we realized, you have the lift station over there behind the gas company office off Treaty Road, and we were able to identify a pretty decent alignment along Highway 10, and it everything kind of started seeming to fall in place as far as that, particular route. So what we've developed right now, and entering into agreement with you all, for the treatment, would be to extend from the clubhouse area to a lift station that would be out front there at the course on the county road, where in essence your jurisdiction would begin. Then we would have a 4-inch force main back out to Highway 10 to get across the highway and the new intersection there where that substation is. And then at that point we would continue west back into town to come back to the lift station. When we looked at that system design, what we anticipated was probably a 3-inch main was going to be adequate in size to serve their load for the clubhouse, to serve the load that they would have from their subdivision as they fill the lots in on the south side of the course. And it also gives us a little more capacity to grow. That would serve maybe 200, 250 dwellings. In talking with Chuck, we realized that really there was an opportunity here between the two parties for you all to have some opportunities for growth out on Highway 10. I think that's kind of starts to get into some master planning issues for you, for the city to be able to grow and extend utilities and infrastructure out that direction. So what we're looking at now is upsizing from that original 3-inch line, which would service the tribe's needs, to a 6-inch main, which would give us the additional capacity for the other connections out there and for other future housing. And so what we've proposed to you is basically to take bids on the project and get our permits from the state, and then we basically would look at the cost difference between the cost to lay the 6-inch main and the cost to lay a 3-inch, and then that would be the difference that in essence would be credited back to the tribe on some of their existing utility accounts. So that's kind of an overall sketch of what's occurring here. I don't know if you have you seen the exhibits that we sent over, proposed alignment for the line? I guess you've all had a chance to review that.
I didn't see it.
Yes, no? Okay, I wasn't sure. We have prepared some alignments on some aerials just, so you can see the overall pathway. But generally, we're on the north side of Highway 10, coming back in to the lift station on the east side of the county road. And then, like I said, your lift station out at the clubhouse area would actually be out front at the road. We're going to go ahead and put in a holding tank. We need to have a holding tank anyway to be able to hold a 24-hour volume. So we're looking to install a 10,000 gallon holding tank near the putting green, and then we'll pump out of that out to the lift station out at the road. And then that would basically be where the custody would switch over from the tribe's part of the system to what would be your part of the system.
Help me understand how we'd measure the volume of sewage that would come out. Is there a flow meter that would be installed on?
Well, typically, of course, they're on rural water out there, so we would look at the water meter, and so
Just
the water
based off-
usage,
Okay.
yeah, it would come from those readings. And then the same thing with any other dwellings that would connect. You've got the water district, and so that's a pretty common way to take care of that, so that you have a way of knowing what's coming at you.
How would we measure that?
Is all the houses out there presently on septic systems?
They're on individual systems, but the type of systems that they're on, the state has outlawed those as well, or they're getting ready to. So when they start selling more lots to build more homes, the septic option and the internal treatment options, they're kind of out the window. So really this again provides an opportunity for them to go ahead and be able to develop their plat, and we would go ahead and install, smaller mains, in essence collection mains, to get back to this lift station. So we've got a 4-inch from that point north to 10, and then we could keep a 4-inch on the county road, and then probably have like a 2 going back actually into the subdivision itself.
But the current ones that are out there now would stay on septic
They're,
systems?
yeah, in essence,
Un-
you're grandfathered in, I think, until there's a problem.
Unless
So-
they choose to.
Yeah, they could disconnect and pay a connection fee.
And is that part of that 250 units you're talking about?
Well, now the 250, that was an initial, that's a capacity number of laying a 3-inch force main. So our initial load with the clubhouse is somewhere in the 5,000 to 8,000 gallon per day range of what the clubhouse is going to generate on average. And then they've got about 100 lots available out on the course area. So then, you would look at the usage of, say, 100 households coming from the tribe's plat. So then you have some additional capacity. Could you pump all the way back to town with a 2-inch? You'd be pushing it the limit. So, we bumped to 3 to basically say that's, if we were just building our own system and no one else was going to connect, or we'd have very few other connections, that's what we would have to build.
The proposed 6-inch line would give us about 1,000 homes, roughly, approximately 1,000 homes to be able to hook into that line out there.
In total.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, we looked at 4. We said, well, okay, we'll bump it on up to a 4. That gets us about 400 households. We get a little bit of an increase out of that. But really going to a 6 for the amount of open area we have out there, still undeveloped land. Obviously, you can go another mile east, out to Highwinds. You've got lots of things out there if you start thinking about who can potentially connect. Really, the 6 pretty much would be the limitation of your current lift station, because at your lift, you're pumping into an 8 under the turnpike. So really, we've got the capacity of that 8-inch main, under the turnpike for everything that we would develop going east.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just a couple quick comments. Capacities with force mains are different than gravity lines. So, and there's a lot of different engineering things that you can do with a force main. You can add another force main. You can there's a lot of options there in the future. I have managed a sewer utility before that did not have a water utility with it. So there are techniques for deriving the appropriate charges for the use of services. Anything from hours on pumps and calculations to just basic flat fees in some instances. So what we had intended to do is at a later meeting bring to you a proposed ordinance that would authorize the particular business arrangement that we're discussing here, whereby we would provide them with a credit to be used account-wide for any account that the Peoria tribe had with the city, adjusted for time value of money so that they get the full benefit of the amount of investment that they're making, because then it also provides us with an opportunity that we're not going to see if we ever have to put in our own main out to them. So we're trying to structure it so it's a win-win for both the tribe and the city. We're going to do a little bit more legal research, though, and also see if there is a way for us to participate financially, but we haven't got an answer on that yet. So the credit to the account is the, I guess, for lack of a better term, the worst-case scenario. Hopefully we can come up with something a little bit better when we get that ordinance on your agenda. And it'll probably be the second meeting in August, since I will not be at your meeting in the first meeting in August.
And Mr. Chairman,
I just want to make clarification. That credit to the utility account, my understanding in discussions would be the difference between what we propose and the cost of upgrading.
That's correct.
Right. The cost difference between the 3-inch system that we had originally envisioned, and then when we got with Chuck, we said, well, okay, we need to bump this to a 6. So you will have hard bids. We'll know exactly what those numbers would be once the project's bid, and then we would apply that credit. And I think we were estimating that might be about a 2-year period where that would, in essence, pay itself back over the course of a couple of years.
and Mr. Chairman and board members, at some point in the relatively near future, concurrent with this, I think you should expect to see proposals for a significant annexation east on Highway 10 to accommodate this project.
Both sides of Highway 10.
Whatever's deemed to be appropriate by the council. Yes, sir.
So how does it work if later on I buy a place out there and I want to hook into the sewer line? What's the difference between force-fed and gravity and cost and things? Or is that germane to this issue?
There's a little bit of difference. I mean, if you think of a typical home here in town, you build it and you run your 4-inch lateral line out to the manhole in the back alley and you connect, and you have maybe a $1,500 expense, or thereabouts on average to do that. In this situation, you would bury a small holding tank. In essence, you'd have a little grinder pump, and then you're pumping out of, say, 1 1/4 or a 2-inch line to the main line. And so you have your own little holding tank, and then when it trips the float, then your grinder pumps come on, and then it pumps that on into the big line. And then when the main lift station kicks on, of course, all of this ends up getting pushed to your main lift station, and then it's lifted one more time out of that well and brought across the turnpike. So, they might have a $1,500 to say $2,000 expense, for like these little EnviroLine type systems that you see. And that's something that, that homeowner will have to deal with that. There's a little bit of electricity to run it, and, a little bit of maintenance, but, they're very common systems. You see them all over the lake, It's fairly routine.
Of course, having a pump is going to be more complicated, check valves and things like that, but it's commonly done. One of the things that, whether that pump now becomes the homeowner's, these are getting into some details, the homeowner's responsibility or part of the city system, it's my understanding that the state agencies are tending to push that back on the utility to take care of instead of the individual homeowners. We're not in that detail yet, but that would be one of the complications in having a force main. Again, you're going to have check valves and more complicated, but it's a common practice to have multiple people hook into a force main.
Chuck, but if you were a developer and you were going to build a new subdivision, you could put in a gravity system in your subdivision and then have a node that ties into the force main.
Exactly. So let's say in Jeff's example, we had a 100-lot subdivision out there, and they built one lift station to force the sewer into the new force main. But each of the individual homes could be hooked up by gravity to a central lift station. That is exactly possible, yes.
When you get into a certain size plat, say you draw the line at 20 lots or somewhere in there, there's an economies of scale to be had, and so you get to a point where it doesn't make sense to make everybody put in grinder pumps. And so then you say, well, if your subdivision's this big, we expect you to install a lift station, and have one connection to us. So you're just not having a spaghetti of lines out there.
And that might be part of our standards that we develop as far as our city standards, to say, okay, we're going to allow a connection every half a mile. We'll have a lift station, and when you get enough people to hook into it, we do that. Again, those are some details we need to work out.
Would that be expected of the rest of the development on the golf course, that they be hooked into and not using any septic system?
Yeah, it's our intent that once this is in place now, that we're going to go to this system for the rest of their development. And it's my understanding you're already getting inquiries because folks are realizing, hey, I can get on the city sewer, and it's just like, being in town in essence from a utility standpoint.
West of putting in a septic system.
Right.
Anything else?
That's all we had,
Manager?
Mr. Chairman.
David, you
No,
got
sir.
any concerns?
No, sir.
One last comment, though. I want to compliment and thank Chief Roman and the tribe for being very gracious and very open-minded in this approach. We're pretty excited about this opportunity to partner, and we certainly hope we can get other things like this cooking in the future. So,
Okay,
Very good. Thanks for your time.
thank you, gentlemen. So, do we need to do anything on the presentation that we just heard, Jeff?
no, sir, just informational. We'll be bringing you action
Be coming
items
back.
at a later date.
Okay, fine. Item 7, thank you again, gentlemen. Item 7, other new business, if any, which has risen since the posting of the agenda and could not have been anticipated prior to the time of posting. Any new business? Going on to item 8, trustee community announcements. Gentlemen, have anything?
No, sir.
Number 9, staff reports. You had information in your packets again. Do you have any questions on that information? If not, item 10, executive session pursuant to 25 OS 307B4 for confidential communications with the trust attorney concerning a pending investigation, claim, or action to wit, John D. Ferris claim and Louis Ortiz claim. The trust authority advises the trust that public disclosure of confidential attorney-client communications in this matter would seriously impair the ability of the trust to conduct the litigation in the public interest. The Oklahoma Open Meeting Act prohibits public bodies from going into executive session unless authorized by majority vote of a quorum of the members present, and the vote is a recorded vote. See 25 OS Section 307E. No vote may be cast in executive session. See 25 OS Section 305. Gentlemen, I need a recommendation to go into executive session and a session. Second, please.
I make a motion to go into executive session to include a finding that public disclosure of the confidential attorney-client communications in this matter would seriously impair the ability of the trust to conduct the litigation in the public interest.
I second that.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Sharbit?
Aye.
Trustee Weston?
Aye.
Trustee Johnson?
Aye.
Chairman Ketcher?
Aye. All ayes. We're in executive session at 6:21, Jill. Jill, we're out of executive session at 6:35 p.m. Item 11, instruct trust attorney regarding Ferries and Ortez claims.
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to deny John D. Ferris's claim.
Second.
Trustee Johnson?
Aye.
Trustee Sharbit?
Aye.
Trustee Weston?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Chairman Ketcher?
Aye. All ayes.
Mayor, I'd recommend no action on Mr. Ortiz's claim.
Okay.
I'll second that.
It's
Trust-
no action.
No action. Oh, I'm sorry.
You don't need a vote on it.
No vote?
No.
Need to.
That takes care of 11, and 12 is adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Trustee Sharbit?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Johnson?
Aye.
Trustee Weston?
Aye.
Chairman Ketcher?
Aye. All ayes. We're adjourned at 6:36, Jill. And moving right along into the Miami City Council. I'm calling to order the 7/16/2013 regular meeting of the Miami City Council, which was recessed yesterday for today. So we are now in session at 6:36, Jill. It was filed in the office of the city clerk and posted in the main lobby in the north outside entryway of the Miami Civic Center at 5:45 p.m. on July the 12th, 2013. The council may discuss, consider, and vote on any item listed in this agenda. We are called to order. Item number 2, citizens' input and unscheduled personal appearances. None. 3 is consent agenda. The following items are on the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are deemed to be non-controversial and routine in nature by the governing board. They will be approved by one motion of the Miami City Council. The items on the consent agenda will not be discussed. Any member of the governing board desiring to discuss an item on the consent agenda may request that it be removed from the consent agenda and placed in its proper order on the regular agenda. Any member of the governing board can also move to add items from the regular agenda to the consent agenda, make one motion, and vote to approve. Gentlemen, tonight you have A, B, C, D, and E. F is taken off for no action. You then go to G. So those are for your consideration.
If there's no discussion, Mayor, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda except for item F.
Second.
Your Honor, just as a point of information, item F will appear on the next scheduled city council agenda.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Councilman Schultz?
Aye.
Councilman Weston?
Aye.
Councilman Sharbit?
Aye.
Mayor Ketcher?
Aye. Gentlemen, you approved A, B, C, D, E, no action on F, and you approved G. Thank you. Item 5, ratification of city manager's signature on annual renewal contract for City of Miami property and casualty lines, including fleet and workman's compensation insurance. Mr. Dabney Smith.
Mayor, did we miss one?
Your Honor, we think we missed an item.
Yeah.
Which
Four,
one?
number 4.
Oh, 4?
Yeah.
Okay, let me back up. I'm sorry, folks. Item 4, request to waive requirements and fees in Chapter 17 to operate a food truck. Roger Briscoe? How you doing, Roger?
For the
Jump
ones
ahead
that
of
don't know me, I'm Roger Briscoe, and I'm here this evening to ask the city to waive the pending permit fees involving opening of my wife's Brenda, my venture into the barbecue truck business called R&B Barbecue Catering. If you don't mind, I'd like to approach you all and give you a menu and a copy of the agenda.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roddy.
Thank you, sir.
We have established 2 locations here in Miami. We got permission from the owners at the First National Bank to set up behind the First National Bank at noontime on Wednesdays every week, where that pad where the building used to be, around the corner of A Street. And
Is that right across, kind of catty corner from St. James?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Courthouse. And we've also obtained permission from the trustees that's involved with Old Marvin's parking lot to set up there every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday all day long. Our hours, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is 11 to 7:30. We have passed our health food inspection. We have registered with the state of Oklahoma regarding sales tax, so the city will benefit from sales tax of our products we sell. We have also obtained a sizable amount, as you see on there, of business insurance and everything. From Bockford and Couch, and we ask for your consideration to waiver the permit fees and stuff.
So Jeff, can you tell us, the vendor fees, is this a fee that we would normally charge someone that's coming in for the fair or something, that's a more transient type of business?
Yes, sir. This is the
that-
Chapter 17 deals with itinerant merchants.
Okay,
And the definition of itinerant merchant means a merchant that goes from place to place.
okay,
It generally, traditionally has been to regulate things like magazine sales, Hoover vacuum, not Hoover, what were they?
Fuller Brush.
Fuller Brush type vendors and what have you. They would come into the community so that the police department knows that there's somebody with legitimate business purpose going door to door to door. I would venture a guess that when your itinerant merchant section was created, that it did not consider food trucks. However, there is a provision in there for ice cream trucks. So what Ms. Briscoe is requesting tonight is that you waive, there's a, is it a
50.
90-day permit?
Yeah, it costs $50, and for every employee, which there won't be any employees, be me, my wife and me, and occasionally my sister will help whenever I'm not able to be there. But
So basically what he's disclosing to you tonight, he's going to be in 2 locations, which is just barely moving to a certain degree. I mean, otherwise, if he had been at just 1 location, we probably would not consider it to be, well, we might have, because it's on wheels and it can move. It goes away at night or something. But Nevertheless, what his request to you is that you waive the fee. We still would issue the permit. There just wouldn't be a fee attached to it.
When you said there's a provision for ice cream trucks, what did you mean by that?
There's a special section in that section of Chapter 17 that just deals with ice cream
But
trucks.
does it exclude them, or it just
No,
handles
just
them
it provides
differently?
different regulations for.
Is this business, will he be complying with all the other rules and regulations that would be required of a business that's staying in one location?
Yeah, he still has to have food handler's permit.
Right, we have
Yeah,
that.
there's no, we're not requesting a waiver of any regulation. It's just, I believe he's asking for the fee.
That's right.
So what you're saying, if I understand you right, you're talking $100 for a 90-day period.
15.
50.
Is that what?
Yes.
What is?
Yeah,
Is
so
it per
that's,
employee though?
Oh.
so that's
Well,
There's an additional
$400
fee.
or what is that? $400 a year,
Right.
which is a lot more than we charge any other business.
Is anybody else paying this?
That's
The
the
ice cream
question.
trucks, are they paying?
Couldn't tell you, sir.
They're operating under a different provision, whatever.
But do
it
they
says,
pay
I don't know.
whatever they're operating?
We
don't
do
know,
have
sir.
itinerant vendors from time to time, yes.
But are they required to pay?
Yes. Yes.
Do we know their fee?
It's the same fee.
They go house to house though, down the street.
Yeah. Every day in my neighborhood, they go by.
Yeah, staff is
And
not requesting
plus
that
I-
we change this section of the code because there's a good purpose behind it. When people are in our neighborhoods, we like to have the permits so that we know when someone calls in, there's people in our neighborhood, then we have reason to believe they're there for a legitimate reason.
If we waive this fee, is that for a certain period of time?
Well, it's 90 days, so you could waive it for 90 days, but
You'd have to come back.
he'd have to come back in the next 90 days.
My-
Or,
Am I correct, Jeff? Most of the vendors don't charge taxes either, where we do, and you're receiving our tax.
well, it would be very difficult for us to figure out on some of these
Supposed to.
door-to-door vendors. They're supposed to,
But
but
I'm
it's a
saying-
compliance issue.
Right, but you are receiving taxes from ourselves.
I would,
David had a
go ahead.
point.
Well, my advice would require getting a question answered, I suppose. Mr. Briscoe, can you tell me roughly when you'd like to start doing business?
We are in the process of it right now. The reason the vending fees has been put on hold until tonight.
Okay, if you had everything you needed tonight, when would you open your truck? If you don't mind me asking, there's a reason for it.
Well, our next scheduled day is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Of this week.
Right.
Okay. Realistically, part of my advice would be that since the ordinance declares it unlawful to engage in this activity without a license from the city manager, you may also want to consider instructing me to propose an amendment to the ordinance for site-based activity, that's registered with the city. Or remember, the definition of itinerant merchant, and it's provided in the ordinance, contemplates someone who's moving from place to place selling something. And it would be quite simple to carve out an exception in the ordinance for site-based merchants not operating from a structure, and that without a fee, but perhaps requiring registration, while retaining the protections created in this code for the community in the case of what I'll refer to as truly itinerant merchants, people that are going from door to door. But I'd like you to consider that, carving out a site-based exception.
So David, if I said that I wanted to make a motion to waive the requirements for a 1-year period, and then at the end of 1-year review, and make sure everything's working the way that we think it will, would you still want to see that carve out that you just described?
Absolutely, because there's an activity that's declared to be unlawful in the ordinance. And my advice would be that if you here's what I'd recommend as an option that I find legally most favorable, and that would be that you grant that you grant the city manager the authority to issue the license and allow 30 days for resolution of the fee payment issue, and then instruct me to come back at the next city council, or say 60 days, and allow me to come back at the next city council meeting with the proposed amendment to the itinerant merchant ordinance, which carved out an exception for site-based activities.
Well, what is the waiver on requirements? What does that consist of?
Your Honor, we, under the Open Meeting Act, we have to be very broad with how we write things to give you the most leeway when you make a motion. We're not requesting, staff's not recommending waiving of any requirements. We still want to issue the permit, but the request would be to waive the fee. And
So that's the question,
Yeah.
fees.
Yeah.
The fee.
And my addition to that staff recommendation would be, really, it's definitely lawyering, and that would be that you, rather than vote to waive a fee imposed by ordinance, that you authorize the city manager to issue the license, to defer the collection of the fee for, say, 60 days. And that should allow sufficient time for me to come back before the council with a proposed ordinance that would waive the fee for this sort of activity that he's describing generally, and then you wouldn't have to collect the fee from Mr. Briscoe, because you'd pass an ordinance during that time period, theoretically, if that's the approach you want to take.
So let me say what I understand you to be saying. We would not need a fee waiver for any period of time, whether it be 1 year or indefinitely.
Correct.
We would just have this deferral for 60 days.
Right.
You worked on the ordinance that you described.
Yes, sir. And authorize the city manager to issue what the Section 1746 describes as a license. I think he's also referred to it as a permit.
Would Mr. Briscoe have to do anything in between time?
Just submit his application, and if you made a motion in this form, the city manager could issue the permit or license, whatever the piece of paper says on it that they use. The ordinance says license. And, but nothing would have to be paid. And should you amend the ordinance during that deferral period, the question would become moot.
Okay.
So I'm gonna make a motion that we authorize the city manager to issue the license requested, but defer collection of the fees for 60 days.
Second.
Councilman Schultz?
Aye.
Councilman Sharbit?
Aye.
Councilman Weston?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Mayor Ketcher?
Aye. You have it, Roger.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've got one question. In 60 days, do I need to come back to that council meeting?
That's what I was wondering.
My recommendation would be that you might want to follow up with either the city manager, myself, or your councilman
Okay.
to determine the status of the ordinance that I'm proposing.
Thank you.
You bet.
Looking forward to some good barbecue.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm excited.
We'll give it a try.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Now we're on item 5, ratification of city manager's signature on annual renewal contract for City of Miami property and casualty lines, including fleet and workers' compensation insurance. Dabney Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. All right.
Actually, I don't have anything prepared. Mr. Bishop asked that I can. Asked that I be here if there were some questions because of the late time at which we asked him to approve, particularly the workers' comp. Came down to the Friday before the due date for various reasons. The whole package, including, as you mentioned earlier, the property, the liability, the city officials' liability, the law enforcement, all of it, and the workers' comp came down to the wire. So Mr. Bishop approved that, and so I'm here to answer it if there are some general questions.
Your Honor, basically what happened was that normally these types of things I would bring to you for your approval because they involve contracts and they involve fees, guarantees of payments of fees. But because of the fact that we had to apply for new insurance this year, it took a lot longer for them to get us our quotes back. And by the time they got us the quotes, we were very close to the expiration date. I had to make a decision to guarantee that the city had insurance coverage So I authorized and executed the agreements. So tonight, I'm asking for forgiveness and asking you to ratify that decision in the spirit that it was in the best interest of the city.
Before we do that, can you or Debbie just give us a quick thumbnail sketch of what happened with our rates? Are they up, down, collectively up and total down?
Collectively up in total a little bit. On the travelers side, they're the largest public sector insurer in the nation, and Oklahoma's been very problematic for property insurance, not just for them, for everybody. Going on about 5 years in a row. They hung in there with us. I've had a conversation with OMAG recently and said that Travelers had non-renewed a couple of clients he knew of, some with pristine loss records, but there must have been something else in the way. The city's had a long relationship with Travelers, and in the past, in fact, as recently as last year, OMAG has looked, but they've just thrown in the towel. One of these days, it'll come, maybe turn full circle again, and they'll be back in the hunt. So,
But that's by a significant dollar amount, though. I mean, the OMAG quote was.
oh yeah, it was over.
Way off.
It was
Six
like
figures.
100. Yeah, it was 150,000 out of whack.
So in total, are we up 2%, 3%, our premiums, just ballpark?
The Travelers part was up about 14. There were some downturns on others. These, I think, I didn't see the note when the mayor said last night. He said, "Well, I was eager to hear you speak." I thought he was joshing me. That's on my name on it. So, the figures that we reviewed, the total package a year ago, not counting the workers' comp, it's in a separate proposal, was about 245,000, and the renewal's 274 roughly.
Okay.
So it balanced out pretty good, and the workers' comp was up some in premium, and with Mr. Bishop's review, the SIR, the self-insured retention on claims, was raised from 500,000 to 550,000 to help keep the premium in line with the expiring. Otherwise, it would have been a pretty good hike. And I've got that figure here too, if you need it.
That's all right. I just was just wondering in general. What
I think in general, I've had some renewals on commercial accounts, actually within the past couple of weeks, that have been in the 30% range.
Yeah, our renewal was up about 13% this year.
Yeah,
So,
so-
I mean, that's not, 10% is probably a pretty good number if you're getting a renewal in that area.
The underwriter with Travelers forewarned us on he thought on the property, they were, they look at it each year, and as the trend is, as I said, in Oklahoma, there's been more catastrophic losses in the last few years than maybe in history. But where he agreed to let us keep a $50,000 property deductible, and to maybe the average person on the street seems like a lot, but when you're dealing with more than 50 million in property, you've got to do something to try to keep the premium down. And he said if it weren't for the city's history with Travelers and its good loss experience, the cities that they, I guess, haven't non-renewed, but they've been adding a 1 or 2% deductible and doing other things, and they stayed pretty flat for the city of Miami. And part of something Mr. Bishop said, that we actually got the quote in, and it's not uncommon. In our office in particular, Kim McCumber-Exman is the account manager for the city, where I might tend to look at things kind of as a pitchfork. She's the fine-tooth comb, and she really goes through that, and having to apply for new insurance. Also, they had a new form in their proposals and things. You couldn't lay them down side by side like had been done in recent years. So things disappeared from pages and moved around, and she started through that. And it's kind of an annual event, but it basically took 3 weeks this year. There were 8 to 10 emails back and forth of questions before we were finally satisfied that it was time to talk about it.
Mayor, I would make a motion to ratify the city manager's actions with respect to our insurance.
I'll second.
Councilman Schultz?
Aye.
Councilman Sharbit?
Aye.
Councilman Weston?
Aye.
Councilman Johnson?
Aye.
Mayor Ketcher?
Aye. All ayes. Item 5 has been ratified.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dabney.
And thank you very much.
Kept you out of McAllister. Item 6, that's no action. That'll be on next week, or not next week, but the next city council meeting. Item 7, 2013 representative appointment to the Grand Gateway Board of Directors for a 1-year term. Gentlemen, I'm recommending Neil Johnson for one and Jill Fitzgibbon as the other person to the Gatewood Board of Directors.
Motion to approve?
I would gladly second that.
Councilman Sharbit,
Aye.
Councilman Schultz,
Aye.
Councilman Weston,
Aye.
Councilman Johnston,
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye. Of course, I don't get to vote on that. Okay, that's passed. Neil, you and Jill, you're directors now. Item 8, other new business, if any, which has arisen since the posting of the agenda and could not have been anticipated prior to the time of posting. 25 OS 311-9. Any new business?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Staff reports. You gentlemen have any questions on your information on the staff reports?
No, sir.
Item 10, mayor and council community announcements and sign approved documents. Gentlemen, you have any announcements?
There'll be barbecue this week.
Okay, that's a
Good
good
barbecue,
announcement.
I think.
Number 11, resolution nominating Councilman Neil Johnson to the Oklahoma Municipal League Council Board. That's my recommendation.
Second. Or,
Motion to approve?
I don't know how to do that. Make a motion to approve the nomination.
Yep.
That's how you do it.
Second?
Councilman Schultz,
Aye.
Councilman Sharbit,
Aye.
Councilman Weston,
Aye.
Councilman Johnson,
Aye.
And the mayor can vote on this item since it's a resolution.
Mayor
Yep.
Ketcher.
Aye. We're loading you down.
Thank you.
You'll serve well. 12, executive session pursuant to 25 OS 307B4 for confidential communications with the city attorney concerning a pending investigation, claim, or action to wit, Christine Walt's claim. The city attorney advises the city council the public disclosure of confidential attorney-client communication in this matter would seriously impair the ability of the city council to conduct the litigation in public interest. The Oklahoma Open Meeting Act prohibits public bodies from going into executive session unless authorized by majority vote of a quorum of the members present, and the vote is a recorded vote. See 25 OS Section 307E. No vote may be cast in executive session. See 25 OS Section 305. Gentlemen, I need a recommendation, executive, and a second.
I never done it, but I will. I'll make a motion to go into executive session for the purpose that public disclosure of confidential attorney-client communications in this matter would seriously impair the ability of the city council to conduct the litigation in the public interest.
Second.
Councilman Johnson.
How's that?
Councilman Johnson.
Aye.
Councilman Schultz.
Aye.
Councilman Sharbit.
Aye.
Councilman Weston.
Aye.
Mayor Ketcher.
Aye, we're in executive session, Jill, at 7:02 p.m.
That's why you picked this time. You're on.
Jill, we're back in regular session at 7:11 p.m. Now, the executive session. Item 13, instruct city attorney regarding the Waltz claim.
Mayor, I make a motion to deny.
Second.
Councilman Weston.
Aye.
Councilman Sharbit.
Aye.
Councilman Johnson.
Aye.
Councilman Schultz.
Aye.
Mayor Ketcher.
Aye. All ayes. That has been handled. Gentlemen, item 14, adjournment.
Oh, we didn't have comments? I'm sorry. I want to say hi to my dad. He just moved to Miami, Oklahoma, and he's supposed to be watching tonight. So hi, Dad.
Welcome, Mr. Schultz.
That's a violation of the open record. 14 is adjournment, gentlemen.
Make a motion to adjourn, Mayor.
Second.
Councilman Johnson.
Aye.
Councilman Schultz.
Aye.
Councilman Weston.
Aye.
Councilman Sharbit.
Aye.
Mayor Ketcher.
Aye, we are